it's hard for me to be creative in homemaking and find the beauty of it this time of year when it's so cold and it's hard to get the kids outside. We've been having an especially cold winter, so it's been extra challenging. One thing that I've really enjoyed doing this winter is experimenting with all of my usual farmhouse on boom recipes, my sourdough recipes with whole grain. Today I am making my brioche dough. So if you go over to farmhouseonboom.com, search brioche. I have the recipe with all-purpose flour and bread flour there. Today I am subbing all of the all-purpose and bread flour 1-for-1 with hard white wheat berries, and I'm doing just a couple things differently. One thing I'm doing different is instead of using my mixer, I'm going to let the flour get hydrated with all of the liquid in the dough, like the eggs, the butter, the sourdough starter, for about an hour, and then throughout the day I will do stretch and folds. Now I don't really time this, I'm just looking for the gluten to get developed. If you've ever heard of the window pane test, that's where the gluten is so stretchy that you can pull it apart and you can almost see through the dough because you can get it so thin. This happens when the gluten is nicely developed. So you can either throw it in the mixer, let the dough hook just go at it for a really long time. That will develop the gluten. But a slower process, and one that you can do when doing sourdough because it doesn't rise as quickly. You know, if you have yeast, it's going to rise so fast that you don't have time for stretch and folds. But the stretch and fold method is something that you can do with sourdough because of the slower nature of it. And to me, it's a slower, simpler process. I get asked a lot how I maintain my energy with a house to keep and 8 kids to take care of. And this time of year, it's especially hard, I think, to maintain energy. One way is by using whole foods. I want to say thank you to today's video sponsor, Armra. Armra colostrum is a bioactive whole food, not a supplement or a superfood, that is physician founded and the only colostrum on the market validated with dual arm third-party clinical trial research. Supplements can be helpful, but the foundation to health is best laid with real food. This is why I like to choose high quality ingredients in my home, and Armra colostrum supports this goal and helps me feel my best. Now, my favorite way to make it is by making some sort of chocolate milk or milk drink. You can mix Armra into any cold drink. I like to add a little bit of cocoa powder, usually either some honey or maple syrup, and then 4 scoops of Armra colostrum. One reason I choose Armra is because they're the only colostrum to use cold chain biopotent pasteurization, which helps keep Armra's over 400 bioactive nutrients active and functional. Adding Armra colostrum to my daily routine helps with bloating, skin health, hair health, and digestive regularity, which to me is the most important part. Armra also offers a subscription model, which is great if you want to make this seamlessly incorporate into your daily routine. You don't want to forget. That's a great option. Armra colostrum is offering Farmhouse on Boone viewers 15% off your first order with my code Farmhouse on Boone. And through my link, tryarmra.com/Farmhouse on Boone. I'll also leave it down in the description box below. I am making my super easy sourdough pizzas tonight, and yes, I am making them with whole grain flour. So if you've been following along a while, you've seen me make these so many times. It's actually been a while though. We were in the habit of making these often, at least once a week for so many years. And then as we do, we make something over and over again. And then for whatever reason, it slips from my normal rotation and I forget about it. But then the other day, my daughter was like, hey, I want sourdough pizza and I don't want pizza dough. I want the crispy cast iron skillet ones, which is fine because they're so much easier. You don't have to plan ahead. All you have to have is a bunch of fed sourdough starter if you want the health benefits of sourdough, and of course the tangy sourdough taste, which is what makes these absolutely so delicious. So I fed a whole bunch of starter with whole grain flour, so some hard white wheat and water, and then I got my skillets really, really hot, added a little bit of oil, spread the starter in a really thin layer, added some more oil and salt. You can also add some Italian herbs, bake them until they're crispy. I am mostly just doing plain red sauce, mozzarella cheese, and sausage for the kids. Luke and I, well, I should probably just say that I like, but Luke also will eat some of the adult pizza, as I like to call it. I like to do usually something spicy on it, some kind of goat cheese. Today I am doing date chili sauce, which is a bit spicy, but also pretty good. We also had this raspberry, I'm not really even sure what kind of cheese it is, some kind of raspberry cheese that we bought for charcuterie boards on New Year's Eve. It's just been sitting in the fridge, and I thought this would be a good time to use it up alongside some goat cheese. I have my oldest daughter working on a lamp project today. I showed you in our entryway where I put an entry table, a couple lamps I found at an antique shop, and some art that we had in our last house. And I wanted to cover the lamp shades with fabric, so I put her up to the task. She cut the fabric the size of the lampshade and used some spray adhesive to fix that to the lampshade, and then she's covering the trim pieces with the fabric as well, and then she'll attach that with hot glue. I am milling some more flour so that I can get some sourdough starter made for pancakes in the morning. Since I know I'm going to be making this into pancakes, I'm going to feed the starter with milk. I'll keep my master starter in another jar like I usually do, and then just feed the starter that will be for the pancakes in the morning with milk to make them more delicious and fluffy and filled with protein. Plus we have a really great milk source right now, so I can get a large quantity of it. I love to bulk up pancakes with that if I can. Instead of just feeding my main starter with the milk, I just do the starter that I'm going to use for the pancakes. This is loosely based on the pancake recipe over on farmhouseonboone.com. Didn't do much measuring, but that's because I've made this so many times that I know how much of each thing to add. Obviously, I also substituted milk for water, but it's a well-loved recipe over on the website.
Look at that, Baba. And Willie, guess what?
Hey, don't look at it. Oh, good job. Going on there.
Remember my brioche dough that I made with hard white wheat berries that I did the stretch and folds throughout the day? Well, now it has risen very slowly because our kitchen is so cold right now. It has been ridiculously cold here. I'm dividing it into 4 equal parts. So as you know, in the brioche recipe, if you've ever followed it over on farmhousehomeboon.com, I divide it differently. I usually put it into loaf pans, but today I'm going to make it kind of like a challah. That's me trying to say that word, by braiding it. So it's my brioche dough made with whole grain, but braided. Sometimes I just like to experiment, and I think this one turned out wonderfully. I let this rise in a warm place until doubled before baking.
You think so?
Everyone says to embrace this time of year. Well, I have to be honest, I am just getting through until it is spring and summer. But at least we can do some creative things around the home, work on a few projects, bake something new, something creative, experimental. If you have lots of hungry eaters like me, it won't go to waste no matter what. And it can be fun and really brighten these slow, cold winter days.